This meeting is being recorded.
Welcome to Shays Spiritual Insights, and we'll get started. I can see by the less people that I should have sent a reminder yesterday, as Pat reminded me, so that's fine, but we have a very exclusive meeting. Just think of it, you're in an exclusive meeting today. So let's just start with anyone, just either one of you, Joan and Pat, just what you have to share, anything you want to share, or any questions, or both. I'm hoping that Marcy shows up.
Marcy will be here.
I'm sure she will.
And in July, she'll probably be here in person.
Yeah, she was saying that. That was going to be exciting. That would be wonderful. So, do you want to start, Pat, or do you want to start, Joan?
Joan
Doesn't.
ready to go.
Oh,
Okay.
so I'll start.
Sure.
I had a really powerful kind of dream vision, and I've been trying to figure it out. It wasn't long after a meditation in Kalispell. And at first I was seeing like, it was sort of like, oh, maybe this is a crystal city, because I didn't really see the crystal city during the meditation, but I saw these temples, like just stacks of them up a hill or in a valley, or, you know, they're kind of everywhere, but they looked really Hindu, and they had like a lattice work. And when I looked again, behind the lattice work, there were these beautiful like eyes. It was all two sets in red and green and blue and gold. And I saw one, maybe a Ganesh. That was really the only one I could discern. And it was just beautiful. It was stunning. And it was like in the distance. It wasn't like I was walking into them or really close to them. And so then I was just marveling at them, and this, I think it was a snake. This snake is coming towards me, and he's really big. I mean, his head is about that big, and it's a flat nose, but I see his eyes and his mouth and his body, you know, moving up towards me. And at that point, it scared me, and I opened my eyes, and he kept coming. And I put out my hand, and my hand went right through him. And he looked at me, and it wasn't good. It wasn't evil. He kind of cocked his head, and then I kind of came out of it, even though I was awake, and I mean, I had dreamed it, but when I opened my eyes, I could see the temple, and I could see the temples, and I could see him. And so I looked, you know, up the Mayan and the Hindu snake gods, and you know, one has a bird head, one has a human head. So I don't know, and I you know, meditated again a day or two later and asked, you know, what's your name? Who are you? And I could see him in the distance, but I didn't get anything. So I guess I'm asking for assistance with this.
All right. Well, my first question to you, and it's actually not my question, it is from your high self to ask you, what is your sense emotionally? You know, how did it feel? What is your sense of the dream? What do you sense it means?
Well, I feel like it's a powerful connection.
True.
And I'd like to pursue it. And I don't really know how, I guess.
Well, you're actually doing it.
Okay.
So what's happening, and just going to basically, snakes represent, in this case for you, it represents the Kundalini. Snakes represent that. They can also represent current reincarnation, but because of the colors of eyes and things, those represent the colors of the chakras. Blue is indigo blue, which is what the one looked
Mm-hmm.
like. That's what it looked like to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the throat chakra. Green is the heart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and what was the other color?
Gold and red, like rubies and emeralds.
Yeah, yes, and those represent the different chakras. Gold is the blessing. What's happened is since probably been going on for a while. I know, in fact, not probably, it has been going on for a while, that you've been growing and you made a bunch of new connections into the etheric realm, including the celestial city. But they use that symbology to show you that you're moving, expanding outward into your spiritual connections and therefore your experience. So outside of the symbols themselves, that the Kundalini is rising, which is a good thing. It means
Okay.
that's what's happening. And all I'm going to say is just keep doing it. And I think that is indeed what's happening.
Okay.
It's a wonderful thing. You had a really great dream there. And I like the fact that
Yeah,
you
it's very,
have eyes. Yeah.
yeah, I know. It was really a wondrous dream.
Mhm.
Um, and that I saw it in the dream and I saw it when my eyes were open. That was really unique. I haven't had that kind of experience before.
And that's because of the strength of the connection. And it's real active with you right now. And it's going to be continue this new, I'm going to call it step or phase you're moved into. And it's been,
Mm-hmm.
it looks like it just happened, but it's been little grains of sand that have been growing, moving the scale from one side to the other as you've been in your spiritual growth and unfoldment. And it got to the point the meditation kind of just pushed it a way big, huge, step or leap. And
Mm-hmm.
the dream is reflective of that. So it's just telling you
Okay.
where things happening.
Is there, should I be prepared for something if it's when the Kundalini rises? I mean,
Flow with it. Keep yourself,
okay.
as you know, with the meditations, we always keep yourself in that bubble that the grounding bubble and the connection
Mm-hmm.
bubble that keeps
Mm-hmm.
negative energies from others away from you. And it keeps the
Mm-hmm.
low self from letting them in too. Because, our emotional
Yeah.
baggage sometimes wants to invite other emotional baggage from others in and they want to go play. And that keeps
Yeah.
it from happening and allows it to be transmuted by Mother Earth. So
Okay.
that's it. Just keep flowing with it, keep centered in the light, and you're doing fine.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Pat, you should be next because your light is glowing on my screen.
Well, I definitely don't have anything as profound as what Joan just had. However, uh, this week I had a very unusual bird show up at our house, and it was quite obviously a um, a bird that was not from our area, let's put it that way, not from any area in the United States, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a most beautiful pale green with a peach head, and it had orange above its eyes, and under its tail feathers bright blue. Actually, I didn't even think about the colors until now,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe you'll have something to shed. But the bird, it was just like, wow, 8 o'clock in the morning. What are you doing here? What a blessing that you've shown yourself to us. And John saw it, we watched it. Well, I realized it was probably hungry, so eventually I put some seeds in the bird feeder, but it had a parrot-like beak, so I knew it couldn't get it until the little birds would come
Mm-hmm.
and make food, scatter the food for it. And it wasn't there anymore. It was there 45 minutes and then it flew into the woods. And then I filled a bird feeder that's a ground bird feeder, a water feeder. And then much later, in the about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was only about 8 inches high. The little bird came back. I was working. I was actually on my hands and knees in the front of the house here, and I saw something fly. Anyway, it landed on the feeder post again, and then popped down onto the ground. After it took its time, and it was there for gosh, an hour or hour, at least maybe an hour and a half, just feeding, drinking water, taking everything in, watching the hummingbirds. Anyway, I'm not going to go into the whole story of it, but eventually, the next day it came back, same protocol. And then my neighbor and I in the afternoon were sitting out close to that little grove of pine trees, and we were talking, and the birds started talking. I had already called the vet clinic, so I had spoken to its owner, and it's a lovebird. And for her, she came, she brought the cage. She's a vet tech, very well educated lady. The bird would not come in. It heard her voice, and I think it took off. And it told me that I was to tell her that it was on an adventure. And so I told her, and she didn't even think I was crazy or anything. And what else? It told me that that was not its name, the name she had given it, which was Cranky. And I thought, oh my goodness, no wonder.
Mm-hmm.
And it said that one of the reasons it came here was so that she and I would meet. And that was kind of cool. And then later, after she left, it said, once again, it said, tell my mom I'm on an adventure. And if I come home, I want her to give me a different name. And if I don't come home, if I die, because she's afraid it's going to die, especially if winter comes, that it's okay. And it was just so clear and so concise, no fear, nothing. So that was my big experience this week.
Well, it's interesting, and while you were talking, when you first started sharing, I got from your high self. She said, outside of your own personal your relationship with that particular bird, that's the unique connection. Birds represent spirit. When the birds show up, it means the spirit is alive. You know, houses that have a lot of birds also typically have a lot of, spiritual essence there. That was from Peter Navarro told me that years ago. He's a spiritual master, and he had mentioned it, that when you see lots of them, because you'll see a lot of times, some houses will have hardly any birds, but the house next door will have many, and it has to do with the people that live there. So that has to do with you, outside of your personal relationship with it, which is something that you're in the process of interacting and learning from. And I agree with you. It needs a new name. Yeah, I think so. I think I wouldn't want the name Cranky. I don't think that's
Oh my goodness. I
No,
called it
no.
Lovely. Every time I spoke to it in the real, in my voice, I'd say, Lovely, you don't have to be afraid. You're okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
And you're on your adventure enjoying yourself. So when you say spirit, how do you mean that?
I mean one's connection with the presence of the capital S spirit and your interaction of your spirit with capital S spirit.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Well, it looks like Franny took off, but look who showed up, Marcy, and we have Eryn. So this is exciting. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to go, and since Eryn had to really work at getting that camera, getting it just right. Is that your phone? So what do you have for us, Eryn? Anything to share and anything to ask, or both?
Probably both today.
Okay.
So I've definitely moved into a new space since our session. So that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
I was offered a job. Like, they came to me and offered a job, and now I'm working. And so that's exciting. I get to use my skills and abilities to support people. And the way I'm interacting with people is different. I definitely feel more confident
Mm-hmm.
and you know, even like a big kind of embarrassing thing happened, and it took me the weekend to kind of process through it, but I feel like I'm okay with it, and I have moved past it,
Hmm.
which, you know, in the past, like I probably wouldn't have gone back to that situation because it would have just been not something that I could face again. So that's pretty exciting. Um, and I guess my I guess my question would be like, how am I integrating? Are things still falling into place? And like, kind of, how much longer will my body need to be stabilized?
Okay, I'm gonna answer kind of this in multiple parts. First, because you made, and this happens anytime we make a pretty big major decision in our life, once we start heading down those paths, then the opportunities present themselves that are associated with that path. Once we go, okay, we're not going this way or this way, okay, I'm going this way, then things come up. And that's, the job came up, and I think it's wonderful that you did that. And it would have happened had you chosen the other path too. Would have happened either way. You're really integrating the energies that you've been working on, and then your last session really accelerated everything. The integration, the connection, the releasing of old stuff, and you're going with it. I mean, you're going gangbusters with it. You know, some people, when they have whatever it is, whether they have a session or they go to see the doctor, or whatever it is they do, they they get the, you know, they find out what they're supposed to do, and they kind of, well, okay, I'll do it, and they kind of go, you know, not you, you're going full speed. Nope, let's just get this thing, you know, in the Navy, like we'd said, like, you're going flank speed. You've got that baby pushing, going full speed as you can within reason. And you're doing well. Try not to go any much faster than you are right now. There's a little bit of a sense within you, your inner self wants to push it. If you do, you're going to get ahead of your angels, and that's not necessarily what we want to do. Just don't get ahead of them, because they're the ones protecting you. So, far as the integration, far as things smoothing out, your high self says that this is a process. It's happening, and it's a process of inner choices, more of the non-conscious ones, although some of them are at the conscious level, as well as, and then as you make them, then whenever the next thing that comes up into your life shows up, how you handle that. It's part of you're in what I'm going to call a process lesson. Does that make sense? It's not a real major one. It's just part of this path you're going down, part of it. And I mean, the fact that you handled the challenge the way you did, and there's a little bit of stuff remaining with you, but you're right. In the past, you would have probably really held on to it, and you're doing very well. And all your guides say, just keep going, flowing with it. You're letting these things go. And then at the same time, you're bringing in all the new connections and integrating them at, you know, appropriately at the speed that it's right for you in your life. And just keep it up, you know. And when challenges come, know that they will, but you seem to be more and more better equipped, because you're flowing with it and seeking to do so for things to happen, you know, on the higher path. So that's a wonderful thing. And I think you're kind of you're an inspiration to all of us. We should all do that more. So I know that, you know, sometimes, I don't care who we are or what we're doing, challenges meet us at our Achilles heel or our blind spots. And so no matter how far along anyone is, they're going to have challenges at that point, and it's how we handle them. And what's so exciting is how you're handling them. So keep it up.
Hey, thank you. I'll
You're
keep
welcome.
going.
I like it. Your phone really works well, by the way. I like that. I'm impressed by the quality of the picture. So,
Yeah, it's pretty good.
all
Yeah.
right. Well,
And
thank you. Anything else?
yeah, I just want to say too, like, I actually feel joy. I would say like, mm, I want to say most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so different for me. So even if something challenging is happening, like I can pause and like concentrate on my breath, and then I can feel joy again. And that is like so new for me. It's it's just a really great place to be.
Yes, and you're allowing yourself to be in the moment, be centered, and connecting with your inner self, your high self, which is where the feelings live, you know, our soul. And that's where joy happens, independent of our life situation. And you're definitely doing that more and more. So again, you're an inspiration to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Woo.
All right. Well, Marcy, are you there? Can you hear me, Marcy? Go ahead and unmute. Well, there might be some technical difficulties there. Franny was
Can
on
you
the
hear me
line.
now?
Oh, there you are. Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm technically challenged today. I dialed the wrong number to get on and all kinds of stuff.
Oh, I've done that.
Pat had,
Transpose numbers, yeah, or something, that sort of thing.
yeah. Pat had to tell me today was the day. I'm like 2 days behind somehow. So
Well, just so you know, and I have to own up to it, Pat pointed out to me that she says, you didn't send the regular reminder email. And I'm kind of wondering, Deborah and I were talking, it's like, maybe we're sending too many emails because no one wants to get so many emails. And we tell people, if you feel called to read, open the email, open it. If not, hit delete. We understand. But we'd rather someone be
yeah,
informed of something than not. But we're probably going to go somewhere in between. Not as many as we did, but not skipping sending out reminders because that doesn't seem to work out so well. So thank you. So how are
it
things in
wouldn't have
Hawaii?
been. What's that?
I said, how are things in Hawaii? I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, um, good, good. Now that I'm on the call, I don't really have a memory, so I'm going to see now. I talked to Pat and I said I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to ask about this. Okay. There's one guy named Paul Selig. He's a channel. I don't know if you've heard of him or not, but he mentioned something that I hadn't really put it together that way. He said that we have our soul that, and to me that's like a ray of light,
Mm-hmm.
or a stream of light. But and then he said that and then kind of like separate from that is the Christ consciousness, or the light of our heart. Is that right, that they're separate of each other?
Well, you can see it that way. And, in spiritual stuff, it's really hard sometimes, depending on what their relationship is to the energy and to the spiritual subject at hand, depends on how they relate to it. So each person, two people can be talking about the very same subject and even agreeing with each other, but talking about it in different ways. So in the way that he means it, and I'm seeing what he's saying, I think about it. Yeah, the heart light and the connection our high self is connected to the Christ body, and that has to do with the light body in the Christ consciousness. All these different aspects and facets of it, of our high self, because you have the light body template, you have the light body, you have the high self, and all of these are, again, different aspects of it. And then within our being, we've got all the different levels of the chakras, and we've got the 7 in our body, and plus the etheric ones, the grounding chakra beneath our feet. But what I'm seeing there, for what he's talking about, you can see them as separate, although truly in all creation, all is one. It's just a matter of, do you want to look at it individually?
Yeah.
Do you want to look at it in groups, or do you want to look at it as a whole? So That's going to be my short answer. Otherwise, I get into too much detail.
Okay, he called it, yeah, he called it the monad. So it was kind of the like the seed of everything, and that the soul was the thing that was on the journey, but that seed was there just to awaken. Does that am I getting that kind of the way
Yes.
he meant it?
Yeah, and you know who else talks about this? And there's all kinds of people who talk about this in slightly different ways. One of them is, and you may have heard of him, his name is Dr. J.J. Hurtak, Keys of Enoch.
Yeah.
And he has all kinds of things, and he talks about the five, like for example, the five light bodies. But these, without going into detail, the way he's talking about them is groupings of chakras that operate harmony together as different bodies. They function that way, and they do. And if we want to look at them, we can look at how they function. But yes, for what he's talking about, that is correct. And if you look at it that way, you can gain insights from it. Yes.
But they would still be on the same page as far as like the soul's not going to go, no, we're going to stay here and work this out, and then the monad's going, we're waking up. They're going to be on the same page.
They're synchronized, and yes, and the energies, because the seed is the essence of our souls. I'm going to use my definition, not his. Definition of us. We exist in the mind of God independently of our manifestation. Does that make sense? That's the seed. And then the soul manifests it. It goes on the adventure of it manifesting it. And sometimes, of course, the soul operates, and the soul breaks itself up into whole bunches of different pieces. Those aspects, some people call them, what do they call them? Little fractals. I've heard all kinds of different names. And it breaks the problem up into our life experience into these different pieces. And of course, they're all connected to one another, although we're not consciously aware of that. And what this does is it takes the soul's adventure and breaks it into a whole bunch of pieces, and the soul can accelerate its learning. Go ahead.
Is that when like we hear other movies playing at the same time? Is that what's going on when we can hear other people talking and other movies playing?
Yes, and the more connected you get, and it's happening with you. In fact, a lot of the people that are, in fact, everyone here on this Zoom session, and pretty much in our group here, they're on what we've talked about it before, is the committed spiritual path, which is where that's part of your major life journey. And what I've noticed with people that I'm on this is that the unique characteristic is that they've moved along in their lifetimes, and now they're at a point where they're taking all these lifetimes, this phase of learning. Let's say, and we've talked about this before, like it's like part 1 and part 2 of a book. Part 1 is chapters 1 through 21. Part 2 is chapters 22 through 45 or something. And 1 through 21 had a whole lot of shared common themes, and we're done with it. We're ready to wrap it up in a bow. And what that means to each person is unique. And as we do this, then we can move up to the next phase with this aspect of your being. Without going into a lot more detail, but when we get to that point, all the different energetic connections between all the different aspects of our being are usually fairly well activated, and we start having conscious level awareness of other aspects. And he wouldn't mind my mentioning it. Greg Frazier, who occasionally is on these calls, he lives down in Boise. Mm-hmm. He had a memory experience once where he was telling me about what was happening, and I looked at it and I said, oh, that's an alternate aspect of your life. It had to do with another aspect of his being having a different experience from what he thinks of as his real experience. But each of them are happening simultaneously, concurrently.
And at some point are the in the dream state, so the dream is from the subconscious, are those also aspects of us?
Yes, they can be. Boy, you get into the subconscious. Yeah, but there is a connection through the subconscious, yes. And so, but it happens at the subconscious level. what happens eventually when we get to this point, especially as far along as everyone is that when we're ready, all the different aspects of our soul come back together in wholeness, back to source. And then we move on from that. Looks like my light decided to quit lighting. So,
Okay, that must be the cue. Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
well, thank you for calling. Anything else? How's Hawaii doing? I bet you there's no snow there.
There isn't any snow, and it's, some days it's so gorgeous. I just have to look and think, is this real? Is this really real?
I know.
The color, the blues, the different shades of blue, it just blows me away. And this is something I mentioned to Pat. It's almost like sometimes you feel like I feel so good. I'm so light and happy and joyous. It's like I don't know if I can stay at this level or go any higher, or there's almost like a comfort zone somehow in the system that says, oh no, this is too much. We can't go any further than this. We can't hold this. Even though it's not true, but it's some kind of I don't know what it is, a comfort level or something in there.
Yeah, but eventually, yes. I mean, and there's a couple ways I can look at that. For example, I get to a state where it's like, this is really great. Let's just stay here. And then eventually our higher guidance and our life path will say, nope, time to move on, and something, unfoldment happens, and the next thing you know, we're on to something else. But I know what you mean. It's just incredible.
Yeah. The only other thing I would ask about would be, I guess I don't really need to ask about it. There was a lot of synchronicity from a book that I read, and I got about halfway through, and it was like, uh-oh, I think I see how this is going to turn out, and there's so much synchronicity, I don't know if I can take anymore, if the rest of it's going to follow this course or not. And right about then, the synchronicity kind of tapered off, but from it, it was like, trying to discern whether this was a clear message from guidance or whether it was like an energetic, angelic transmission is kind of how it felt.
Well, it's kind of both. It's a message in that, it's funny how synchronicity happens. We have all these things happen in our life. And the next thing you know, we pick up a book, or we watch a movie, or we talk to someone, or we go to some lecture or take a class or something, and it's, like, wow, this is really syncing up to all that I've been happening or what I'm thinking about in my life. And what I thought was funny is what I was watching as you were talking, and you said, oh, I don't want the synchronicity. And they said, okay. And they kind of unplugged it for you.
Yeah.
So that you didn't have the direction you didn't want it to go.
Right. And then it's like, okay, but what I told myself when it came to that point was like, I take whatever changes in the highest good. I'll deal with it, I'll make it through it, whatever it is. And then that was it. That was kind of then the synchronicity of the rest of the book tapered off, and I was just left with that kind of like an energetic, wash had happened or something. I don't know.
I wouldn't call it a wash. I'd say it really proved to you that, that's that's a real message. That's an affirmation from the divine, from our higher guidance, the angels, whatever connection you have, that you're doing it, you're flowing with it. And yes, what I got from it was your low self. It was your child self. She's is of the opinion right now. You're willing to do whatever's for the highest good, but not right now. It was kind of like, let's give it a little bit of a rest, and that's what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's not necessarily negative. It's, how it is. We learn some things, we have some things happen, challenge, it integrates, things go smoothly, then we're ready for our next set of things. And It looks like you're just looking for your child self especially, and it looks like it was being accommodated because it's, it's okay to wait for a little bit for it to just let it flow, cruise a little bit, and then move on. But since you've been in Hawaii, things have been moving pretty fast for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that's a bit
Yeah.
of an understatement, but yes. But that's what you wanted. That's part of your life path. Before you left,
Yeah.
I don't know if we remember, but that was kind of what was in the works, because this is an opportunity being there for things to happen that wouldn't happen as rapidly or in the same way as if you weren't there, just because of the energy of being there, being in a new place, and all the complexities of Hawaii, and of course the beautiful creative energies that are there. That you really are taking advantage of it. But I'm sensing, since our last insights, I think you're beginning to, the unfoldment's going, you're coming to, I don't want to call it the end, but moving on to what's coming next. And I'm not sure what that means.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not really sure either. I have it in the plan to come in July back to the mainland just to visit. So maybe that'll reveal something.
I think so. I think you're going to have some connections and insights from it. It'll be natural ones. And then some choices will come up. But that's about all they want me to talk about at this point, and they're not letting me know anymore.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing. Wow. Well, there's only 5 of us tonight. I don't know where Franny went. I don't know if she lost her phone. Because sometimes I know that because she's been working all day, by the end of the day, the phone isn't charged. And if that's the issue, I'm not sure if that's what it is, but I hope she can get back on. Does anyone else have anything? Joan, Pat, or Eryn?
The energetics of this call are so phenomenally strong. I can't hardly keep my eyes open. They keep wanting to shut, and I just feel this strong
I can tell you
energy.
why.
Maybe you can go into that a little.
Yeah, I've been working on bringing forth a new, becoming a master's course today. Been working heavily on that, and I'm going to be. That is what they have me doing. That's the main thing. What is it? Stephen Covey says, keep the main thing the main thing. That's the main thing right now, is bringing that through, Deborah and I. And those are the energies you're sensing. It's pretty intense.
Whoa.
You're getting it. You're getting it through the call.
I'm definitely getting it. I would have had no clue had you not expressed that.
I was thinking about sharing it, and I thought, why bring that up? But now that you've mentioned it, that's why. And it's coming through. And each of you, whatever energies of that are right for you, you'll receive. So, yeah, it's been a real challenge getting started. Go ahead. Pat, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm, well, I am and I'm not. I can hardly speak, really.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything? Marcy, Joan, Eryn? Okay, Eryn says no. Joan, do you have anything? Anything to share? Any thoughts? I can't hear. Oh, yeah. There we go.
It seems like things are moving pretty fast.
They
guess.
are. What's happening in the world right now, I guess I'm supposed to mention that. It just came to me. Once you said that kind of triggered it. Things are accelerating. And what happens is, because we're all part of the Earthly Soul Group, our lessons are part of our lessons that synchronize to what's happening with the Soul Group, because that's where the energy is. And of course, those that don't have spiritual connection, or at least a really grounded connection, you can see what's happening out in the world out there. They're not handling it well. The incoming energies are really intense, causing, as we've talked about, it's been going on for years, and it just keeps accelerating, especially in the past few months. grounding connections to go away, new ones to be made, and it causes a constant integration. And it can make people feel like you could say uneasy. Sometimes some people have a sense of foreboding from that, or a sense of not being, all kinds of things. You know, because your low self is sensing the constant change. It's not a stable, slower change like it is in normal times, and that's going to keep going because the powers that be out there are going to try to keep their system in place. But you know, the light always wins, and that's coming in. But that it looks like it's going to be going for a little while. Deborah calls this it's a football term, I guess. Their Hail Mary. This is their attempt to maintain the old systems, and it looks like it's changing. So what? And it looks like all of you are pretty much doing that. The guidance is that we're to stay in our connection. You know, you can use the little, the grounding and the connecting thing that we use. We have a actual little exercise Deborah has out there on the how-to videos, I think. But just stay in our guidance. That's what the turning down the volume in our life article and video were about in our radio program. Just stay centered in our connection, and then interact. You know, stay connected with others as we're guided, and don't get caught up in other people's stuff. It's really easy to get caught up in the worldly stuff, like it's our own, and the next thing you know, our low self makes it our own, and then we want it so. But it looks like all of you are not doing that. You are all just flowing with your own guidance, which is what we are to do. That's what the higher guidance is saying. That's from the divine as well. And be there for others. Be the light, because that really does help. As every place you go, as we connect with the light, we're anchoring it everywhere we go, raising the frequency of the planet. And of course, as the light shines out, that light can touch someone's life, and it can change their life, and they won't even know that it happened. It bypasses their mind, it bypasses the ego, and it allows for them to have receive spiritual light, which will help them. You know, it can help let something fall away for them, help them make a higher choice rather than a lower choice, making, you know, go to the right instead of the left, whatever it is that they need to do. And just by following our spiritual path, it's a gift unto other people on theirs. So just be a light worker like you are. Does anyone else have anything to share? I guess not. I get at this point, any other questions? I'm not getting anything more other than just stay in the light, stay connected. As people that don't have a spiritual connection, who don't have the grounding, what happens is, as these connections get disconnected and the new ones get made, it causes them to be agitated and off balance. They don't know what to do, and they can act out from their low self. And just keep yourself in the bubble, and as you send the light out to them, that will help. That will help heal them and help them. But that's about all I can say at this point, and that's kind of what I said just a moment ago. But they're reiterating it, that it's really important that we do that, and just be the light. And with that, I guess we're going to finish a little early tonight, and I guess. Go ahead, please.
I had a thought. How about if we did like a little 5-minute meditation? Doesn't have to be long, just to focus, and you know what the focus is, or you're going to be told right now.
Well, what I'm getting, to open up everyone, especially because we're in a sacred space for these things, we always open them up. We're always guided to open up sacred space from the divine and our higher guidance. Let us go ahead and do that simple connecting grounding exercise. And we're going to do that so that we can reopen ourselves up, or open ourselves up further to those connections and energies that we need. Let those things that need to fall away happen, and speed up the process that's, of what's happening. It'll just hasten the process of the connection and integration. So you can do it with your eyes open or closed, but let's just imagine yourself a bubble of light at the width of your aura, however wide you see that, going above your head and beneath your feet. And for those of us who have the 5-pointed star, fill the bubble with your 5-pointed star with the 1 point pointing upward, filling your body and with white light, the light of protection, the light of healing, the light of love, the Christ light. Filling your body and surrounding your body, filling the bubble. And if you haven't gone through that, just go ahead and see a shaft of light coming from above, from infinity, coming down into your bubble, into your body, and filling the bubble with white light. Letting anything of a dark nature just flow down through your feet, and see it going into a container beneath your feet, whatever, any darkness. And once your bubble is flowing and the white light is circulating through your body and in the little bubble field around you at the width of your aura, close the container beneath your feet. See it, imagine it, visualize it, intend it, going out into outer space and being struck by light or lightning, however you want to see it, and watch it in a brilliant flash of light break into its constituent parts and dissipate into light, transmuted. And now imagine at the width of your aura, however wide you see that is, a shaft of light going down through your feet and anchoring in the center of the earth. See it, visualize it, intend it, and it will happen. Intention alone will make it happen. That connects us with Mother Earth, keeps us grounded so that we can do our daily tasks while we're on our spiritual sojourn here in life on planet Earth. And now imagine beautiful Mother Earth energy coming up through the shaft of light, through our feet, into our body and swirling around, further grounding us, connecting us, immersing us in Mother Earth Gaia energy. This further grounds us, and it also allows that as our emotional baggage comes up, as we're making these new spiritual connections, as our balloon goes higher and higher of life, there's the ballast, which is the emotional baggage as it's released, and sometimes through our energy field, it can be absorbed by Mother Earth and transmuted into light, never affecting us, never to be seen again. Allows us to let go of it and dispel emotional baggage without ever having to interact with it. Now imagine another shaft of light, the width of your aura, however wide that is, starting at your heart chakra level, going up through your head, through the layers of your being, traversing the center of the universe and anchoring in the center of creation. Again, see it, visualize it, intend it, and it will happen. This connects us with the etheric realm, the divine, which is our shorthand for any aspect of God with which we connect, our guides, our high self. It allows us to be both consciously and non-consciously guided, spiritually guided through the day. We don't even have to think about it. This allows us to, as the unfoldment of our day happens, all of a sudden we have inspiration, or we think, let's do this instead of that. That's our higher guidance speaking with us, our guides, the divine. While we're simultaneously grounded to Mother Earth and able to handle the tasks of our daily life, the earthly things. Now imagine that from the center of creation, light coming down through that connection, going down through the center of the universe, through the layers of our being, through our crown chakra in our head, flowing down and mixing with Mother Earth energy, and then going down through our feet, and gently being absorbed by Mother Earth. This is the walk of the Masters, being connected with our higher guidance, with the divine, walking our spiritual path while being centered and grounded here on Earth, able to handle both spiritual and earthly functions and activities alike. And with this, we always thank our guides, our high self, the divine, the Elohim beings, that's where from the word aloha comes from. It's from the sacred Huna teachings in Hawaii. They're the creator beings. We thank them. And the Jinn, which is where our word genie comes from. They're just wonderful mystical beings who help and guide us. And again, in our angels and our guides, we just thank them all as we walk this path. As we did this exercise, this opens us up to allow all those connections that no longer serve us to fall away, to make new connections with our higher guidance, higher connections as we're ready, and to allow us to have new grounding connections with Mother Earth that are right for us now. Fostering our growth, creating what we call spiritual quickening, which takes us where we are to where we are ready to be in just a very short period of time. All right. Let everyone just have a few, 30 seconds to a minute of this. Just connecting in these energies, letting it flow. You need do nothing. It will happen of its own accord. Well, like water, it finds its own level. Our inner spirit of our being knows what we need. Our higher guidance knows what we need and is making it happen as we speak right now. Okay, it's beginning to taper off. Wow. All right. Well, Franny, you came just in the nick of time because we were just about getting ready to go, and because I didn't send a reminder email as I should have, so I'll have to do that next time. Do you have anything to share or any questions?
It's nice to be here, and thanks for that grounding exercise.
That was Pat's idea, yes.
Oh, good. The only question I would have is I've had so many physical ailments lately, and I wonder if you can shed any light on that. Do you have any guidance or words of wisdom on that?
Well, I'm glad you asked, and I think you already know the answer, so I will give you an answer in just a moment. What is your sense of it is? If your high self thinks you know. She says you know.
Like paying attention to my body, paying attention to the vessel.
You broke up here a little bit on this end. Go ahead and repeat, please.
Paying attention to my body. Maybe slowing down a bit. I don't know.
It's some of that. It's also related to the energies, of, as we've talked about this many times, and it's fairly common. Sometimes when our past life baggage, old beliefs, events from the past, even in this life or other lives, they just fall away. And that's the best way. And when it just falls away, all of a sudden, hey, we feel lighter, we feel different. It's wonderful. Oftentimes, though, because parts of us hold on to it, it gets processed through our being. And you, as we've talked about, as with many of us here, we're in a period of putting everything in a bow, as we've talked about before. And it means this lifetime is about really accelerated connection and accelerating releasing, which is what you're doing. You have a whole bunch of things from common things that happened over a period of many lifetimes, and they have to do with physical interactions and physical condition that relate to your health. And because they related to your health then. And they're being, much of it's being released, but some of it's getting processed through your being. And what it is, just to be aware of that and to bless it and release it. It's just it's a physical manifestation of that which is being released. That's the short answer.
Okay.
Yeah, and to take those supplements and things that can help you here, because that helps energetically augment that which you're doing energetically, spiritually.
Okay. I'd like to go to hot springs because soaking is always really good for me.
Mm-hmm.
I may connect with some friends though that are doing a sweat lodge, and I don't feel like doing the lodge. So I'm a little bit conflicted about if I go there, then I may feel pulled in. But I'd love to go soak in hot springs. So maybe the wiser course of action, because that helps me to process and let go of, physical, mental, emotional, everything. When you talk about releasing, that is really a good way for me to do that. So
It really does. And I'm getting yes on the hot springs, no on the sweat lodge. There's some other stuff associated with it that you're sensing.
yeah, I'd like to see my friends, but I also feel like there are some other energies there that
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely affirmative. And you're
Okay.
sensing them, and you're wise to stay away from them. Don't let yourself get talked into it. That's just coming from one of your guides and your an aspect of your inner self. Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. That's wonderful. It's it's always a little bit muddy or murky. So just speaking it makes it easier to say, I'm going to let that one go and I'm going to go in this direction instead. So thank you.
Yeah, and it's some stuff left over. It's not even, it's kind of theirs, but it's kind of a shared thing. And you're in the process of that's slowly falling away anyway. And it's, what we were talking about with Joan, and I don't know how it just came out, because when Joan said something earlier, you know how it is. Has everyone here watched Sleepless in Seattle? Has everyone watched that? Okay, well, it's a wonderful movie, and there's one line from that movie that ties to how emotional baggage works. And she says, goes to see her brother-in-law, who's, I guess, is a instructor, PhD at one of the universities, and he teaches, and he's got a practice and whatever else. He says, and she says, I think this guy, Tom Hanks, is meant to be, and he says, oh, meant to be, and he was being a little bit sarcastic, but he says, that's just two neuroses recognizing each other. That's what our emotional baggage does. Energetically, it happens kind of at the harmonic level. They kind of join up, and if we're not paying attention, they'll go through our little bubbles and stuff, because it is us after all. And it'll want to connect, because one of our functions of our subconscious and our low self in our emotional baggage is to maintain the status quo. So that's what it tries to do, and it does that by involving other people in it. And so what you're sensing is the two energies wanting to suck you into that, Franny. That in the Sleepless in Seattle thing, and what Joan said earlier, our baggage will invite their baggage, and they'll try, mutually they'll try to keep both of us roped into this pattern that neither one of us want to be in, kind of a thing. So that's what's happening. That's the dynamic. I think you already know about that. So you're doing good.
Beautiful. Thank you for that. I had a massage earlier, so I'm a little bit spacey, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Well, that's a good thing. You had a good kind of a spacey then.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Thank you for this.
Oh, you're welcome. Is there anything else? I don't have anything more. I think the one thing it was is just to talk about, and I just think the conversations and Pat, you bringing it to the forefront, is the accelerated times we're in. And I look at And when we stay centered and flow with that and allow things to go, this is really a spiritual renaissance. I know I'm a broken record on that, but we are. And these are things that are happening now for those on the spiritual path would have taken decades to do in the past. And now people are doing it routinely. And I'll just share one more thing. Back in the 1970s and 80s, the energies were still accelerating because it really started, this period we're in, started in about 1958. Edgar Cayce talked about it. He talked about the period from 1958 to 1998. That was our 40 years in the wilderness. That was what the message he had gotten from humankind. And then we're going to move out of that, and that's what started these accelerated times, which is after 1998. Anyway, the energies were such that unless you were a Zen master, to get to the theta state would take a lot of time. You have to meditate quite often, and sometimes people had to be in a Faraday cage or something like that. And at universities, and this is part of what the Berkeley research did way back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s was about. And now people, during our seminars, they're going to the alpha right state, which is the daydreaming state that's 7 to 14 hertz for the brainwave state. And they're moving into the theta state sometimes by the second day, sometimes the first day, which is the dream state, deep hypnosis, and that's for a 7 to 14 hertz, 4 to 7 hertz, brainwave state when you hit theta. That was unheard of in decades past. And now we're doing this we're slipping right into this within a day or two, when it used to take weeks, months, sometimes years for people to get that discipline. So what times we're in, these are glorious times, but with great change comes great tumult. If you look in history, if you ever read about the Renaissance, people talk about it from the standpoint of the arts. But for the regular people, we were moving from a peasant farming agrarian society into pre-industrial type of things. It was a major change, and it was kind of a bumpy road for everyone. And then when, of course, the Industrial Revolution happened, same thing. And now the spiritual revolution, if you want to call it, that's what we're in. But it allows us, for those who are on the committed spiritual path, to complete in this lifetime those things that would have taken, that it used to take 2 or 3 lifetimes to do, maybe more. So just everybody keep it up, because these are the times to be in, even though they are it's a rough ride. And for much of humanity, for a significant portion who doesn't have the spiritual connection, it's a real rough ride. So all we can do is just keep being as we said before, be the light worker, shine your light. It's a blessing to everyone, and it'll help the world, raise the frequency of the planet, of our soul group, as well as ourselves. So blessings and light to everyone. And until next month, which I will send out a reminder. Pat has brought that to my attention, and after you said it, I said, that wasn't a very good move on my part. So I will do that, and I will see you all next month. Blessings, light, and love, and have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Bye. Thank you so much.